Back in 1996, when I was a student of master's final year in Dhaka University, there was a clash with a rival political group. That night, they found me alone and they cut the vein in my right hand. As you can see, the scar is still here. Thanks to my family and friends, I was then taken to a well-known hospital. But the doctors there said it won't be possible to treat me in Bangladesh and advised my father to take me to Singapore. We flew to Singapore the very next day, where I went through surgery. And after a month I was able to move my thumb, but only slightly. The hand was like this, and the thumb moved a little like this. The doctors then advised us to return home and do some exercises. But my father insisted, take as long as you need, 6 months, a year, whatever, but please fix his whole hand. I can't quite demonstrate to you properly now, but basically after 6 months, I was able to move my thumb and index finger properly, and my middle finger was only able to move with my index finger, while the smaller fingers were completely stiff, like this. I couldn't move them at all, I had slight sensation, but I couldn't hold them straight. They would automatically fold and close in. So really I spent 14 years with only 3 fingers. As a regular donor to Quantum Blood Bank, I would meet with the friendly staff there and they would advise me to take part in the meditation course as my business was not going too well. So I actually attended the course to improve my business. In the meanwhile, I had gone through many different kinds of treatments to fix my hand. After the treatment in Singapore, I tried homeopathy and many herbal ointments. And I even sought help from the spirit world, and interestingly enough, as part of that treatment, the occult priest told me to go to a graveyard on a moonless night and bring back a human skull and then to drink water from that skull for a week. So I went to a graveyard, and as I jumped over the wall, I accidentally stepped into a grave. I tried to bring my foot out, but it seemed as if someone was holding it down, and I got really scared. Then I put a torchlight on it and found that it had got stuck into the wooden platform of that grave. I then dug that grave and took the skull out, but I found it was broken over here. So I couldn't possibly drink from it. I had spent 2.5 hours digging that grave. So I dug a second grave, which took me another hour and a half. This time I found a skull that was okay, but it had an unbearable stench. I then went back to the priest and told him about the bad smell, and he said, no problem, just wash it and drink from it for the sake of your hand. Instead of 7 days, I drank water from that skull for a whole month, but my hand remained the same. Then someone else told me to collect water from 41 riverbanks and water from the tanks of 41 different mosques, and then to bathe in that water for 41 days. I did that too. I tried lots of other treatments. I became so frustrated in the process that I tried to commit suicide twice, but thank God I was not successful. Then I joined the course, where I saw many women in their 60s and their 70s complaining about their knees, unable to pray. And Guruji said to them, meditate, meditate. Try to say your prayers properly tomorrow with all the necessary postures. And they were able to do it. On the 3rd day, Guruji taught us how to heal ourselves. I learned how to go within myself in the meditative level for healing. That night, however, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, these old women, they will perhaps live for another 5 to 10 years only. But I am only 38. Will my hand ever get better? Will I live my whole life with this worthless hand? Then what's the use of learning meditation? I meditated 3 times that night, but nothing was working. I was so tensed I couldn't even concentrate in the meditation. I kept thinking, there was only 1 more day left in the course, and if my hand didn't get better by the next day, what was the use of coming to this meditation course? After a while, I downloaded Guruji's healing meditation track from the internet. I tried to meditate with it. I was determined to heal myself at any cost. When I got into a meditative level, I entered my body and gradually felt more at ease with myself. I used the self-healing technique that I had just learned from the course. When I came back out of my utterly sublime experience in the meditation, I found my hand was still the same. It was around 4 o'clock at that time in the morning, and my wife began to scold me. "Have you gone crazy? Are you learning how to meditate or how to go crazy? It's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're going from the bed to the floor to the chair to the computer. What's going on with you?" So I said, "Okay, let's get some sleep." I got up at 7 o'clock as usual, and I went to the bathroom and tried to get my toothbrush. Mind you, I had been living with 3 fingers for 14 years. Whatever I did with only 3 fingers. But I noticed I was trying to grab the brush with all my fingers, not just the usual 3. As I tried to hold the brush, it slipped through my fingers. I began to wonder what was going on. I tried to pick up the brush, and it slipped through my hand again. So I called my wife. She said, "Let's see, try to hold it again." So I bent down to pick it up. My wife said, "Your hand is cured. How did it happen?" I told her about how I had meditated almost all night. On the following day, I found my fingers were completely cured by the grace of God. My hand was just as it used to be before the vein was cut. In the beginning, of course, there was some awkwardness, but I overlooked it. But now, my right hand is just like my left hand. In Singapore, my father had to pay more than $35,000 in hospital bills. Altogether, with his hotel fare and air tickets and all, almost $60,000 were spent. For this, he had to sell the house we had in Shahzadpur. I wish my hand had gotten better while my father was alive. He would have been so happy. He went through so much for me.